Hello everyone, I'm MVL and welcome to another episode of Game Hunting. I'm here at Harry's Toy Chest in Truro, and the first thing that catches my eye when I get in here is this retro arcade cabinet. This thing looks awesome. I would love to have something like this in my game room. Unfortunately, this was not for sale, and I can certainly understand that because it really draws your eye when you get in here, and it looks great through the window to grab people and bring them into the shop. Underneath this cabinet, there are some PlayStation 2 games. Lots of good games here. Time Splitters 1 and 2, Dino Stalker and Crisis Zone, Light Gun games, Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, and a Might and Magic game there, and Resident Evil Code Veronica X as well. At the top here is Virtua Cop Elite Edition, which is Virtua Cop 1 and 2. Awesome light gun games. It's marked £10, but I got it for 8, and I'm very happy about this because I've been looking for this because I love light gun games. These guys have newly moved here, and this location was previously a gaming shop called Console Connections, which unfortunately shut down, so I'm glad these guys moved in and are keeping the gaming scene alive here. As you can see, this place has tons of action figures and Lego on offer, including a fine selection of games as well. And the games are what I focus my attention on, as I am a game collector. They have a bunch of great games over here as well, including, next to this pink Furby, which is certainly a blast from the past, The Bard's Tale on the PlayStation 2, which is a fantastic game. There are great games everywhere here, including in this cabinet in the center of the shop. There are Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Nintendo DS and Nintendo 3DS games on display, including a lot of great Pokemon games here as well, including Pokemon Silver and Pokemon Gold there as well. And underneath that there are a bunch of handheld gaming systems, including Nintendo DS, 3DS and even some Tamagotchi, which is another blast from the past. Next up we have SOA Toys and Games in Truro. This place newly opened up where Acorn Records used to be, which was a gaming shop featured on a previous episode of Game Hunting, which has unfortunately closed down since. And the bad news here is that this place also closed down since the filming of this video. I'm starting to feel like I could be cursed. I certainly hope that's not the case, but we'll see how my luck runs with Game Hunting here. There's certainly a lot of PSP games that were on offer in this location, and a lot of good stuff to look through. Now the prices here are very good. I do believe this seller is still selling on eBay, so a lot of this stuff will still be available through those means. And to that point, I believe that Acorn Records also sells on eBay as well. And the reason that both of these shops struggled in this location is the same reason that Console Connections closed down previously, and in St. Austell, a gaming store I used to love called Reboot closed down, and Big E's Games and DVDs has moved from St. Austell. The reason in both of these locations shops have struggled is because CEX had big stores in both of these places. I'm not saying CEX are the bad guys, but certainly a lot of people take their business and especially take their trade-ins to CEX instead of local stores, and that does hurt local businesses. It's unfortunate, but this is a trend I'm seeing more and more. I know that Total Replay in St. Austell, which is a gaming shop I have featured on a Game Hunting episode before, has told me they are not very fond at all with CEX in that location. And in Penzance, there is another big CEX shop in the center of town, not far from a shop that I have done a shop tour video of before called Old and New. They told me they weren't happy about CEX being there at all, and not long after I did that video, they closed down as well, which brings me back around to maybe I am cursed, maybe this happened because I filmed there, who knows? But just to reiterate, I'm not saying that CEX are the bad guys. I do shop at CEX. Sometimes you can find some great deals there, but for the most part, I prefer to support my local gaming stores. And wow, with that said, let's check out some of the games that were in this shop. Here you can see there are a bunch of Nintendo Switch games, including a couple of copies of Mario Odyssey. Here's a Nintendo Switch with some awesome colored Joy-Cons, and there's a Game Boy multi-cartridge. Here's a PlayStation Vita with a memory card and some Nintendo DS and 3DS 3DS games. And speaking of 3DS, here are some 3DS consoles and some 2DSs as well. Lastly on display are some 3DS and 2DS games and a Nintendo Wii. I ended up picking up Infected for the PSP, and this game is awesome. And speaking of awesome, here is the gold mine in Nuki. I'm going to take you on a real-time adventure on entering this gaming store. This is the commitment I have to retro gaming, and these are the lengths in real time I go to grab retro games. I'm taking you on a journey here of the actual entrance to the shop. Here you can see our directions are laid out. We must continue up these stairs to find the gold mine. This is actually in a tattoo studio at this point. Someone was getting a tattoo as I entered, so I quickly continue my way to the gold mine as a sign points us to keep going from here. And so we do, and our adventure continues, and just as our hope begins to fade, we come across a sign that we are close to our destination. The gold mine is this way, just a few more steps until we have met our goal. The game store is close at hand, and we're about to find the final sign that the gold mine is just one turn away, and here we are. As you can see, they've got a bunch of stuff from modern to retro systems, and this place is definitely off the beaten track, to say the least, though it is certainly worth it. They have so much awesome stuff here, and I will also say that they have moved down a floor to where the tattoo studio used to be, which makes it a bit less of a trek than it was previously, although I do think that was really funny how far you have to go to get up here, so I definitely wanted to include that. And I will also be including the gold mine in its new location since it has moved in a future game hunting video, so you can look forward to that down the line. They have a bunch of cool controllers in this central display cabinet, and here we're onto some Xbox One games, including Fallout 4 Game of the Year edition and Gears of War 4 for £8 with 4 bonus games. What was I thinking? I should have picked that up. As you can see, there are a ton of games here, particularly a ton of modern games, as they get a lot of that traded in. Here's The Evil Within limited edition. I already have this on the PlayStation 4, but I don't have the limited edition, so I did consider picking that up. There's a lot of Xbox One, there's some GameCube, and here's some Xbox 360. I love picking up Xbox 360 and original Xbox and PlayStation 2. All of these systems are very common and pretty cheap to collect for right now. Here's Crash of the Titans for the PlayStation 2. That looked cool. Here's some PSP and Nintendo DS along with some PlayStation 1. Here's the Alien Trilogy in a admittedly horrific platinum case. I hate those platinum cases. And here's Doom for the PlayStation 1. Now there's a better port of Doom for the PlayStation 1 out there as well, and there are also better ports for Doom out there than the PS1 port, I have to say. Here's a cool game, Maniacs from Codemasters for the PlayStation 1. This game looked really interesting, so I'm glad I caught eye of that. Here's a look at the Wii games before we move on to some odds and ends. Here's a very strange looking controller. A lot of this stuff here I have absolutely no idea what it is whatsoever, but I did see this cool PlayStation 2 stand, which was also a multi-tap adapter, which seemed really awesome, but it was a bit too big for me to pick up at the time, so I left it. What I did pick up, however, is this copy of Rayman for the Game Boy Color, which I spotted right next to the till as I was paying for Maniacs for the PlayStation 1, and on the way out I saw you could get a tattoo of Elvira, which I have to admit is pretty awesome. Next up, we check out Cornwall Air Ambulance. This is a charity shop, and they had this horny devil novelty teddy, which caught my eye. I thought that was pretty funny, but obviously I am here for the games, so I did spy some games here, and there were some pretty good ones here. Here's Lego Batman, which does have a CEX price sticker on it, but despite what they may appear to be priced from the previous stickers, everything here was priced at £1 each. A lot of charity shops price all the media the same regardless of what it is, and here's Sonic and All-Star Racing with Banjo-Kazooie, which looked really cool, and here's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, and again on the back here you can see the price says it is in fact £1. I ended up picking up Lego Batman the video game despite it being in that bestseller case variant, and SSX and Sonic and All-Star Racing all for the Xbox 360. Next up, we check out Cancer Research in Nuki, very much one of my regular haunts. Here's a light gun, which looks like a real gun. That is crazy. And here's some DES games, Need for Speed and Star Wars The Force Unleashed. There's Tomb Raider Definitive Edition and some DES games and Indiana Jones for the DS in the box and a DS system itself, along with a bunch of games. Pretty good deal, or no deal. And there's a light gun for the PlayStation 2. And there's another one of those weird controllers like I saw in the gold mine. I guess those things get around. And here's some loose UMDs for the PlayStation Portable. I had to check these out, and they were Monster Hunter 2, The Hustle, and Outrun 2006, and Tiger Woods. And here's a PSP system with a couple of games, including Tiger Woods, of course, but that actually is a pretty good deal for that PSP and games. They also had a loose cartridge of GoldenEye for just £3. That's a classic game, and that certainly went quickly. Inside they had some PSP games. Here's Aliens vs Predator, which looked really cool. Because they had a PSP system in the window, I knew they'd have some PSP games inside. Here's Dead to Rights on the PSP, which is an awesome action game, and there's Spider-Man as well. And as you can see in this charity shop, the prices are individual for the items, more eBay priced, so to speak, whereas Cornwall Air Ambulance did all of their media for £1. Despite that, this place is in a much better location in town, so they tend to get much more media and much more video games as well, which is why this is very much a regular haunt of mine. They get a lot of good stuff in here. Here they have some PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 games right here. You're seeing here that this game, the name on the spine is different from the disc and the front cover. You've got to be aware of that. You've got to check the discs when you buy games secondhand, particularly from places like charity shops, which might not be too clued in games, and they may not check the cases all of the time. So you've got to check the quality of those discs, make sure they're not scratched or anything like that. And here is the other end of the spectrum. We have Angry Birds Trilogy sealed on the Xbox 360 for only £2.50. They had a lot of Xbox 360 games here, including Dirt and Star Wars The Force Unleashed 2. Here's Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, Modern Warfare, Fusion Frenzy, Skate 2, Wheelman, and some dancing and fitness games. And here's an original Xbox game, Heroes of the Pacific, from Codemasters. And behind that is Crackdown and Aliens vs Predator for the Xbox 360. I did grab that, and now my friends, it's time to see what I picked up. So what did I pick up? Well, first up from Harry's toy chest in Truro, I picked up Virtua Cop Elite Edition on the PlayStation 2. This is a combination of Virtua Cop 1 and 2 light gun games. I love light gun games on the PS2 in one collection. This is complete with the manual and disc, and I love light gun games. I couldn't tell you enough how much I enjoy that arcade experience in your own home, so I had to pick up Virtua Cop Elite Edition for PlayStation 2. Next up from SOA Toys and Games in Truro, I picked up Infected for the PlayStation Portable. This is a third-person shooter game. It's really cool, really unique. It's got a very dark sense of humor to it. It also includes Slipknot, and you can make your own character. A very cool game, and it is complete with the UMD and manual in there as well. Next up, from the gold mine in Nuki. First up, I picked up Rayman for the Game Boy Color. This is very similar to the PlayStation 1 version. The story's a little different and it's missing a few features, but essentially it's the same game. Very cool to have this on the Game Boy Color. I love Rayman and I love Game Boy Color games, so I had to pick this up, and I got it very cheap as well. And next up from the same place, Gold Mine, I picked up Micro Maniacs for the PlayStation 1. This is very much like a Micro Machines racing game. It is very cool, it's very amusing. Funnily enough, it also has a widescreen feature, which is very cool for a PlayStation 1 game, although it's a little too zoomed out, so I prefer to play it in 4:3. Of course, I like to play on a CRT TV as well when I play games for PlayStation 1. And missing the manual, but the disc is there. Very cool game indeed, Micro Maniacs. I like this one a lot. Next up, from the Cornwall Air Ambulance, I got a bunch of games for £1 each, or 99 pence. First up is Lego Batman the video game on the Xbox 360. Now this is like a third-person platformer slash beat-em-up game. This is the Xbox Classics version with a silver case, which is a bit nasty to look at, but for, 99 pence or £1, that was still a pretty good deal. I actually already had this as a combination with pure bundle copy, but I wanted to have the game itself and I couldn't say no to that price, and it's a very cool game as well. Lego know what they're doing. They've expanded a lot with movies, games and all that kind of thing, so cool to pick that up. There's a lot of Lego games, a lot of good Lego games out there as well. Next one I got from the same place, again for £1 or 99 pence, is Sonic and All-Star Racing with Banjo-Kazooie, and that really attracted me to pick this one up. Again, for £1 seemed like a very good price. These racing games are really cool, very Mario Kart style, if you will, complete as well with the disc and the manual in there. And then finally, again from Cornwall Air Ambulance, for £1 or 99 pence, SSX. Now this is like a remake or a reimagining or just a new entry that they decided to just call it SSX for this generation of consoles. I remember I really liked SSX Tricky for the PlayStation 2. That's an amazing game, so I had to pick this up. The price was definitely right for this. Missing the manual, but the disc is in there. Very similar to the Tony Hawk games, except you're going down a course rather than open world like Tony Hawk's. If you haven't played an SSX game, check them out because they're very fun. And lastly, from Cancer Research in Newquay, I picked up Aliens vs Predator. This is a first-person shooter game. It's really fun. You can play as the aliens, the predators, or the colonial marines. I like to play as the underdogs, the marines in these games. Very fun. Good universe to fight in. I always feel kind of underpowered as Marines, but it's very fun for a horror experience to be playing as the human amongst the terrifying aliens and predators that you have to battle in this game. Very fun, very cool game, very scary. Aliens vs Predators on the Xbox 360. And that's it. Those are all of my video game pickups for this episode of Game Hunting. If you liked the video, please leave a like or a comment to let me know what you think, and don't forget to subscribe for more awesome content. And if you'd like to, you can also support me through Patreon or YouTube channel membership. Thank you for watching. I've been MVL, and I will catch you next time.